Senior Sensor Operator Maya Rodriguez stretched in her chair, her eyes scanning the dozen holographic displays surrounding her station. The night shift aboard the UNHS Mercy was usually quiet, but she never allowed herself to become complacent. 10,000 patients relied on her vigilance, even in supposedly safe space. A soft chime drew her attention to the long-range sensors. 3 signatures had appeared at the edge of their range, unusual for this sector. Maya's fingers danced across the haptic interface, enhancing the readings. The signatures were large, military-grade drives, if she had to guess. Her heart rate quickened. "Control, this is sensors. We have 3 unidentified vessels approaching. No recognition codes broadcasting." She kept her voice steady, professional. After 15 years aboard hospital ships, she'd learned that panic never helped. Captain Sarah Way's response was immediate. "Classification. Running analysis now, Captain." Maya focused on the incoming data. The ships were definitely military. Energy signatures matched warship configurations, but their approach vector was wrong for standard patrol routes and their speed. Her blood ran cold as new data flooded her screens. "Captain, multiple hyperspace signatures. They're surrounding us." The main bridge display erupted with new contacts. 12 warships now, arranging themselves in an attack formation. The UNHS Mercy's massive white hull, adorned with the Red Cross and Caduceus symbols recognized by every spacefaring species, stood stark against the void. "Broadcast our status on all frequencies," Captain Way ordered. "This is UNHS Mercy to approaching vessels. We are a medical ship protected under Galactic Treaty Article 7. We carry wounded from multiple species, including your own. Please respond." Maya watched as the Universal Distress Beacon activated, its signal declaring their protected status in every known language. In her decade and a half of service, she'd seen pirates turn away from that signal. Even the most hardened raiders respected the laws protecting medical ships. The warships didn't respond. Instead, their weapon systems powered up. "All hands, this is the captain." Way's voice echoed through the ship. "Emergency protocols are now in effect. Medical staff, begin emergency patient evacuation procedures. This is not a drill." Maya's screens filled with internal sensor data as the massive ship came alive. Medical teams rushed through corridors, moving critical patients to emergency pods. Surgeons worked to stabilize those in middle of procedures. Nurses administered emergency stasis drugs to those too fragile to move. "Captain, they're charging weapons." Maya's fingers flew across her console, recording everything. Energy signatures match hegemony military patterns. Heavy cruiser class. The first shot struck their auxiliary power core. Maya watched in horror as cascade failures rippled through the ship's systems. On her internal sensors, she saw medical staff using their own bodies to shield patients from falling debris. "Attention all hands." Captain Way's voice was calm even as smoke filled the bridge. "Activate protocol memory. All sensor data, all records, everything. Transmit it now. Let them see what they've done." Maya encoded every bit of data she could into the transmission stream. Sensor logs, internal camera feeds, medical records proving they carried nothing but patients and supplies. As secondary explosions rocked the ship, she added one final piece of data: the identification codes of every attacking vessel. The escape pod's launch caught her by surprise. Security forces had literally thrown her into it, along with Dr. Sarah Chen and her patient, a young hegemony cadet who'd been recovering from emergency surgery. As the pod accelerated away from the dying hospital ship, Maya kept broadcasting. She transmitted the final moments of the UNHS Mercy, ensuring the galaxy would witness this atrocity. The last image she captured showed medical staff still at their stations, still trying to save lives, even as the ship broke apart around them. The pod's emergency FTL drive engaged just as the final explosion lit up space. Maya closed her eyes. The afterimage of the dying ship burned into her memory. She knew, with cold certainty, that the galaxy was about to change. Humanity had endured much in its path to the stars. But this would not stand. In the pod's small medical bay, Dr. Chen worked to stabilize their injured passenger, whispering the same phrase over and over. "We heal all. We help all. No matter what." Maya added those words to her transmission before encryption and radiation finally cut off the signal. The message was away. Now, humanity would answer. The United Earth Council chamber fell silent as the transmission ended. 60 representatives, one from each major Earth settlement and colony, sat motionless. The escape pod's message had taken 3 days to reach Earth, carried by quantum relays across the vastness of space. Council leader Marcus Chen, no relation to the surviving doctor, stood slowly. In 30 years of service, he'd never seen such stillness in the chamber. No sidebar discussions, no diplomatic maneuvering, not even whispered conversations, just silence. "The vote," he said quietly, his voice carrying in the hushed room, "to activate Protocol Sentinel is now open." Screens lit up across the chamber. Marcus watched as 60 lights turned green in perfect unison. No debate needed. No discussion required. For the first time in United Earth's history, the vote was unanimous. He pressed his palm against the ancient scanner built into his podium. Authentication accepted. Protocol Sentinel is now active. Across the Sol system, every screen, from personal devices to massive public displays, shifted to display the same message. Protocol Sentinel active. This is not a test. On Mars, the massive doors of the Olympus Mons mining complex began to move. Decades of rust fell away as hidden mechanisms activated. The mining operation split open like a blooming flower, revealing row upon row of sleek warships. Maintenance drones swarmed out, removing the artificial patina that had hidden their true nature. Sarah Martinez, chief engineer of the mining facility, smiled grimly as she watched the transformation. "Begin power-up sequence," she ordered. "All ships, all stations. It's time to wake up." Similar scenes played out across the solar system. On Europa, research stations studying the moon's oceans retracted their scientific instruments, replacing them with weapon arrays that emerged from the ice. The Titan methane refineries revealed themselves as massive shipyards, their storage tanks opening to release vessels that had never processed fuel. In high orbit around Venus, weather monitoring satellites shed their outer layers, revealing state-of-the-art defensive platforms. The centuries-old facade fell away in minutes, showing the solar system's true face. But the greatest revelation came from Luna. The moon's dark side, forever hidden from Earth's view, had carried humanity's greatest secret. As emergency lighting activated across the surface, massive hangar doors appeared in the lunar regolith. Each door was kilometers wide, carved into the moon's flesh, and hidden from all scanning technology. Admiral James Wong stood in the Luna Command Center, watching as ships emerged from their centuries-long slumber. "Report," he barked. "All systems nominal." "Admiral," his XO responded. "The preservation fields worked perfectly. Every ship is combat-ready." Wong nodded, studying the tactical display. The lunar fleet alone numbered in the thousands, smaller vessels for system defense, larger ones for deep space operations. Each incorporated technologies that humanity had carefully kept hidden: phase drives, quantum shields, gravity lenses. "Signal from Mars base," a communications officer announced. "Olympus fleet reports ready. Europa defense grid online. Titan shipyards at full capacity." "What about the Ghost fleet?" Wong asked quietly. Message received from Admiral Torres. "The Orc cloud facilities are awakening. She estimates full deployment within 48 hours." Wong allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had spent centuries preparing for this moment, hoping it would never come. Every trade deal, every technological exchange, every seemingly innocent scientific mission had been part of the preparation. They'd learned from their allies, adapted their enemies' technologies, and built something entirely new. "Send word to all commands," Wong ordered. Operation Nightfall begins in 72 hours. Until then, maintain emission control protocols. Let them think we're still sleeping." As he spoke, more ships rose from Luna's surface. The sight reminded him of ancient tales. Armies rising from dragons' teeth sown in the earth. But these weren't myths. These were humanity's guardians, waiting until they were needed. The hegemony had attacked a hospital ship. Soon, they would learn why that was the worst mistake they could have made. "Send a message to the Council," Wong added. "Tell them the fleet is ready. And God help anyone who stands in our way." Admiral Helena Torres stood at the observation deck of the ECS Nightshade, her reflection ghosting against the reinforced transparent panels. Deep in the Oort cloud, ice fragments drifted past like stars, occasionally catching the dim light from distant Sol. Each sparkle reminded her of the hospital ship's final moments, scattered across space like broken dreams. Admiral, her XO, Commander David Chen, approached quietly. "The last of the stealth fields are dropping. You'll want to see this." Torres turned, and the observation deck's smart surfaces transformed into a tactical display. Across the Oort cloud, hidden bases were revealing themselves. Ships emerged from their cosmic hiding places, their hull materials absorbing nearly all light. The vessels appeared as voids against space, their presence marked only by the stars they obscured. "Status report," Torres ordered, her voice carrying the weight of 30 years in the Shadow Service. 7th through 12th fleets reporting in. All ships at combat readiness. Chen's fingers danced across his datapad. "The adaptive camouflage systems are functioning perfectly. Each ship can mimic the energy signatures of 16 different species vessels." Torres nodded, studying the growing armada. The Ghost Fleet represented humanity's ultimate contingency plan. While Earth's public military focused on conventional ships and tactics, the Shadow Service had pursued more exotic technologies. The Nightshade's bridge door slid open, admitting Chief Engineer Yuki Tanaka. "Final diagnostics complete, Admiral. The phase drive modifications are holding stable. We can transition the entire fleet through dimensional space without detection." "The hegemony won't know what hit them," Chen added, a hint of satisfaction in his voice. Torres raised her hand. "They will know exactly what hit them, Commander. That's the point. Bring up the tactical display of Proxima Centauri." The holographic projection shifted, showing their first target. The hegemony's primary shipyard orbited Proxima, its massive structure capable of producing capital ships at an alarming rate. Intelligence suggested it was already ramping up production in anticipation of Earth's response. "They expect us to be primitive," Torres said, addressing the bridge crew. "They think we've hidden behind medical ships and humanitarian aid because we're weak. They believe our technology is decades behind theirs." She smiled thinly. "Let's show them how wrong they are." The tactical display updated as more ships joined formation. Each vessel represented decades of reverse engineering and innovation. The neural interfaces were adapted from the Arcturus species biotech. The quantum shields came from studying stellar phenomena around black holes. The gravity lances were humanity's own creation, born from centuries of physics research that other species had dismissed as theoretical. "Message from Fleet Command," the communications officer announced. "Luna Base reports full mobilization. They're asking for our status." Torres straightened her uniform. "Tell them the Ghost Fleet is awake. Operation Nightfall can proceed as planned." She turned to her crew. "What we do here will change the galaxy forever. Not through overwhelming force, but through precise, surgical strikes. We will dismantle the hegemony's military capability piece by piece, showing them the difference between having power and knowing how to use it." She gestured at the tactical display, highlighting key targets across hegemony space. "Every ship has its assigned mission. Every task force knows its objectives. We strike their military installations only. No civilian casualties, no collateral damage. Let them see that humanity can win a war without becoming monsters." The bridge crew nodded in understanding. They had trained their entire careers for this moment, hidden from public view, practicing maneuvers that would seem impossible to their enemies. "Admiral," Chen reported, "all fleet elements in position, ready to begin phase drive sequence on your order." Torres took one last look at the assembled fleet. Thousands of ships that had never appeared on any official record, crewed by men and women who had sacrificed normal lives to serve in secret. "Send to all ships," she commanded. "Operation Nightfall is go." For the Mercy. The ghost fleet disappeared into dimensional space, leaving only silence in the Orc cloud. The hunt had begun. Captain Sarah Martinez watched her tactical display as the ECS Phantom materialized inside the Proxima Centauri shipyards. Their phase drive had deposited them perfectly, directly between two hegemony dreadnoughts under construction. Neither ship's crew had any idea they were there. "Active camouflage holding," her tactical officer whispered, though sound couldn't travel through space. "Old habits died hard. We're registering as background radiation on their sensors." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The hegemony's mighty shipyard, pride of their military-industrial complex, was about to learn some harsh lessons about humanity's capabilities. "Deploy maintenance drones," she ordered. The Phantom's hull split open, releasing swarms of tiny robots disguised as standard repair units. They scattered across the facility, attaching themselves to key structural points. "All teams, execute," Sarah commanded. Across 50 star systems, humanity struck simultaneously. The Ghost Fleet had divided into hundreds of smaller task forces, each targeting specific military installations, but they weren't there to destroy. They had a more elegant approach in mind. In the Rigel system, Commander Jack Chen watched as his ship's quantum infiltrators rewrote the targeting systems of an entire defensive platform network. The hegemony's own weapons would now refuse to lock onto civilian or medical vessels. Around Sirius, Lieutenant Maya Patel's squad introduced smart viruses into the hegemony's automated construction plants. The facilities would continue to build ships, but each vessel would have subtle flaws in its weapon systems, flaws that would only become apparent if they tried to target medical ships. Back at Proxima, Sarah's drones completed their work. "Charges set," her engineering chief reported. "Ready on your mark." Sarah opened a channel to the shipyard's control center. She transmitted in perfect hegemony standard. "Attention, Proxima Shipyard Command. This is your only warning. In 30 seconds, we will demonstrate why attacking a hospital ship was your gravest error." The confusion in the controller's response was almost comical. "What? This is a secure facility. Identify yourself immediately." "Look up," Sarah replied. The Phantom dropped its camouflage. The sleek black vessel, nearly a kilometer long, seemed to absorb the starlight around it. Warning klaxons blared across the facility as weapons powered up. Too late. Sarah's drones activated. Key structural components throughout the shipyard began to fail. Not catastrophically, but precisely. Construction cradles locked down, trapping half-built warships in their berths. Power cores initiated safety shutdowns. Communication arrays realigned themselves, their transmitters locked into diagnostic mode. Not a single explosion. No loss of life. Just the systematic paralysis of the hegemony's largest military shipyard. "Signal from the Nightshade," her comm officer reported. "Similar results across all target sites. The hegemony has lost 60% of their military production capacity." Sarah watched as the massive facility ground to a halt around her. The hegemony crews would spend months trying to repair the damage, only to find that each fix triggered new cascading failures. Her engineering team had designed the sabotage to be as intricate as it was elegant. "New contacts," Tactical reported. 3 hegemony battle groups responding to the shutdown. They're approaching from different vectors. "Show me their energy signatures," Sarah ordered. The tactical display highlighted the approaching ship's power cores. Just as expected. "Execute Phase 2. The Phantom's emissions shifted, perfectly mimicking the power signature of a Drachnid warship. To the approaching hegemony vessels, it would appear that their rivals had somehow infiltrated the shipyard. As her ship prepared to phase out, Sarah broadcast one final message. The price of attacking healers is higher than you imagined. Consider this a lesson in consequences. The Phantom vanished, leaving chaos in its wake. Across hegemony space, similar scenes played out. Earth's response was not the brutal assault they had expected. Instead, they faced an invisible enemy that struck without warning, disappeared without trace, and systematically dismantled their military capabilities while barely firing a shot. In her command chair, Sarah reviewed the after-action reports. Not a single civilian casualty. No collateral damage. Just precise, surgical strikes that prove humanity have been holding back far more than anyone suspected. Set course for the next target, she ordered. Let's remind them why hospital ships are off limits. Ambassador Elena Santos walked through the grand halls of the Galactic Assembly on New Geneva Station, her steps echoing against marble floors. The station, built by a coalition of species as neutral ground, had never seen such activity. Representatives from 30 different civilizations had gathered for this emergency session. Behind her, a team of data specialists wheeled a quantum storage unit. It contained everything. The final transmission from the UNHS Mercy, centuries of medical records, and proof of humanity's long-standing policy of treating all species equally. They're ready for you, Ambassador, her aide whispered as they approached the assembly chamber's massive doors. Elena nodded, squaring her shoulders. In her 20 years as Earth's chief diplomat, she'd never faced a more crucial moment. The Ghost Fleet's surgical strikes had created the opportunity. Now she would provide the context. The chamber fell silent as she entered. Hundreds of beings from across the galaxy watched as she approached the central podium. The hegemony's seats were conspicuously empty. Esteemed representatives, Elena began, her translation implant ensuring every being present heard her in their native tongue. I come before you not to declare war, but to share truth. The quantum storage unit activated, projecting its contents across the chamber's holographic systems. The final moments of the UNHS Mercy played out in stark detail. What you witness is not merely the destruction of a ship, Elena continued. It is the targeted elimination of a facility that had, over its 15 years of service, treated 3.2 million patients from 89 different species, including, she paused meaningfully, over 400,000 hegemony citizens. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Elena gestured, and the display shifted to show medical records. Every patient received the same level of care, regardless of species, politics, or ability to pay. This was not unique to the Mercy. It is the foundation of human medical practice. The Arcturus representative, their crystalline form shimmering with emotion, spoke first. We had no idea of the scale. Our own citizens, they spoke of miracle treatments received aboard human medical ships. Because that's what we do. Elena responded. We heal. We help. All who need aid. The display shifted again, showing the Ghost Fleet's recent operations. The precision strikes, the careful avoidance of civilian casualties, the systematic dismantling of military infrastructure without a single life lost. Earth possesses technology far beyond what we've shown, Elena explained. We could have responded to this attack with overwhelming force. Instead, we chose to demonstrate precision, control, the very values that the hegemony claimed we lacked. The Drachnid representative rose, their scales reflecting the holographic light. This explains much. The surgical strikes against the shipyards, we detected energy signatures matching our own vessels. We nearly went to war with 3 different species before realizing the truth. A deliberate choice, Elena confirmed, to show that we could have sparked an interstellar war, but chose not to. Every action since the Mercy's destruction has been calculated to demonstrate the difference between having power and using it wisely. She brought up new data, trade routes, economic projections, medical research collaborations. The hegemony's attack didn't just destroy a hospital ship. It severed thousands of medical research partnerships, ended joint development projects, halted treatments that could have saved millions. The chamber erupted in discussion. Elena waited patiently as the implications sank in. Humanity's response hadn't just been military. It had exposed the true cost of targeting medical vessels. "We request," the Arcturus representative announced, their voice cutting through the chaos, "an immediate review of all medical technology sharing agreements. If humans have been holding back advanced treatments out of fear of attack, our medical ships will sail again," Elena promised, "under better protection, with new defensive technologies. But they will never carry weapons. That is not our way." She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes and equivalent sensory organs of each representative. The hegemony thought they were punishing weakness. Instead, they revealed their own. Earth's response shows that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the choice to heal. Remember that when they come asking for allies. The chamber's response was immediate. A standing ovation from dozens of species, each showing approval in their own unique way. Elena allowed herself a small smile. The diplomatic battle, like the military one, had been won without firing a shot. High Chancellor Dextal of the hegemony paced in his private chambers aboard the capital station Eternal Dominion. Holographic displays surrounded him, each showing another system declaring independence. The carefully constructed empire was unraveling faster than anyone had predicted. His personal quantum terminal chimed. "Urgent message from Research Division," the AI announced. "Director Ixel requests immediate audience." "Display," Dextal ordered, his secondary hearts racing. The message opened to show his chief medical researcher, her scaled face showing signs of extreme stress. "Chancellor, the humans. They knew. They knew everything." Ixel's hands shook as she manipulated something off-screen. "The data core recovered from their hospital ship. We finally decoded it." "Explain," Dextal demanded, all four eyes focusing on the display. The Mercy wasn't just treating patients. They were gathering data, studying our biology, understanding our medical technologies. But not for military purposes. She laughed, a bitter sound. They were finding ways to make treatments cheaper, more accessible. They could have cut the cost of organ regeneration by 90%. The Chancellor felt his scales tighten. Why didn't they? Because they were waiting for proper safety trials. Clinical studies. They wouldn't release treatments without being absolutely certain of safety protocols. Ixel's voice dripped with irony. The species we branded as reckless was more careful with our lives than we were. A second display lit up. "Chancellor, emergency broadcast from Sector 7. The feed showed massive protests on New Helios, one of their core worlds. The streets were filled with citizens of a dozen species, all demanding answers. Their signs displayed images from the Mercy's final transmission. It gets worse," Ixel continued. "Remember that Drachnid lieutenant they saved last year? The one with the supposedly incurable genetic degradation. They didn't just heal him. They developed an entirely new treatment protocol. One that could help millions of colonists suffering from deep space radiation exposure." Dextal sank into his chair. "Why wasn't I informed of this?" "Because High Command ordered us to suppress the information. They claimed human medical technology would make our population soft. But look at this." New data scrolled across his screen. Research papers, treatment protocols, medical breakthroughs. All freely shared, all carefully documented. The humans had been advancing medical science across the galaxy, while making it appear they were merely keeping pace. Another alert chimed. "Chancellor, the 7th Fleet has gone dark. Admiral Venerk sends his resignation." Message reads, "I will not fight those who saved my daughter's life." The pieces were falling into place. The Ghost Fleet's precise strikes. The leaked medical records. The carefully orchestrated diplomatic revelations. Humanity hadn't just been preparing militarily. They'd been weaving themselves into the very fabric of galactic society. "New transmission from Earth," his AI announced. Text only. Marked for your eyes only. The message was brief. Your facilities on Proxima 7 contain 3,247 patients. We have evacuated them all to safety. Their treatment will continue uninterrupted. Consider this a demonstration of priorities. Dextol checked the timestamps. The evacuation had happened during the Ghost Fleet's first strike, right under their noses. His military hadn't even noticed. Chancellor, Ixel's voice drew his attention back. There's more. The Mercy. They were developing a cure for spaceborne degenerative disorders. Early trials showed 98% effectiveness. Do you understand what this means? He did. Millions of colonists suffered from these disorders. The treatment costs kept them dependent on central worlds. If the humans had shared this cure, another display lit up with breaking news. The Consortium of Medical Worlds, representing their most advanced medical research planets, had just announced their secession from the hegemony. Your orders, Chancellor? His aide asked nervously. Dextol stared at the reports flooding his screens. The humans hadn't just outmaneuvered them militarily. They'd shown the galaxy a better way. Each precision strike had revealed another thread of their influence, another example of their quiet competence. Get me a channel to Earth, he said finally. It's time to admit we made a mistake. But as alarms began blaring through the station, he wondered if it was already too late. Admiral Helena Torres stood on the Nightshade's bridge as the Ghost Fleet prepared for Operation Starlight. The tactical display showed thousands of ships moving into position around the hegemony's core systems. Each vessel gleamed with a faint blue shimmer. The new medical insignia Earth had chosen to mark this final mission. Last transmission from the Chancellor Station confirmed. Commander Chen reported. They're still refusing to acknowledge our terms. Torres nodded, studying the holographic star map. Status of civilian populations in target zones. Medical evacuation teams report 98% completion. All critical care patients have been moved to safe locations. Chen's fingers danced across his console. The remaining 2% are stable cases who chose to stay. Time to begin then. Torres opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Admiral Torres. Operation Starlight commences in 5 minutes. Remember your training. Remember our purpose. Remember the Mercy. The response came back in unified silence. Thousands of ships acknowledging without breaking communications discipline. The Ghost Fleet had learned to speak in whispers and shadows. Across the targeted systems, hegemony sensor operators stared at their screens in confusion. Strange readings appeared and disappeared. Phantom energy signatures flickered at the edge of detection range. Warning systems activated and then went silent. Phase drive engaged, the Nightshade's engineering chief announced. Ready for synchronized jump on your mark. Torres took a deep breath. Execute. Reality twisted. The Ghost Fleet emerged simultaneously at every major military installation in hegemony space. But this time, they didn't hide. Each ship dropped its stealth fields, revealing hulls adorned with both weapons and medical symbols. Channel open to all hegemony frequencies. Communications reported. This is Admiral Helena Torres of the Earth Ghost Fleet. Her voice carried across space, translated into every hegemony language. Your leadership chose to attack healers. We chose to respond with precision. Now, we offer one final choice. On cue, the Ghost Fleet activated their new systems. Quantum fields wrapped around hegemony weapons platforms, placing them in temporal stasis. Shield generators found their power rerouted through medical diagnostic equipment. Command centers discovered their communications repeating the final transmission from the Mercy. We do not seek your destruction, Torres continued. Like all our medical ships, we come with both the power to help and the strength to defend that purpose. Surrender now, and your injured will receive the same care we've always provided. Resist. She gestured to her tactical officer. The Ghost Fleet's gravity lances powered up, not firing, but demonstrating their capability. The energy readings made hegemony sensors scream in alarm. We developed these weapons over centuries, Torres explained. Not for conquest, but to protect those who heal. Every advancement, every innovation was measured against that purpose. You thought our medical ships were weak. Now you understand. They were strong enough to choose peace. The first response came from the Hegemony's 7th Fleet. Their ships powered down weapons, running medical flags alongside their surrender signals. Others followed quickly. Defensive platforms, orbital stations, planetary installations. Admiral Chen reported, Chancellor Dextal is requesting a direct channel. Torres allowed herself a small smile. Put him through. The Chancellor's image appeared on her screen, all 4 eyes blinking rapidly. Admiral, we were wrong. The medical data you shared, the precision of your attacks, the evacuation of our civilians. You've proven your point. Have we? Torres asked quietly. Then prove you understand. Sign the new medical protection accords. Place your hospitals under Earth's protection. Show the galaxy you've learned that healing is not weakness. Yes, anything, Dextal agreed quickly. Just tell us one thing. How long? How long have you had this capability? Torres looked at her bridge crew, men and women who had served in silence for decades, protecting humanity's greatest secret, long enough to learn when not to use it. That's the lesson we came to teach. Across hegemony space, ships began powering down. Not in defeat, but in recognition. They had tried to break humanity's healers, only to discover that Earth's greatest strength lay in knowing how to win without destroying. Send word to Earth, Torres ordered. The Ghost Fleet stands ready to escort medical ships once more. Tell them to prepare the new Mercy. It's time to start healing again. 5 years after Operation Starlight, Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the observation lounge of the new UNHS Mercy II, watching stars streak past the quantum-shielded windows. The hospital ship dwarfed its predecessor, its white hull gleaming with both medical symbols and the subtle shimmer of defensive systems. Doctor. A young hegemony medical student approached, datapad in hand. The latest trial results are ready for your review. Sarah smiled, remembering her own early days. Thank you, Kexley. How are you finding the human approach to medical training? Different, the student admitted, 4 eyes blinking in sequence. On my homeworld, we focused on efficiency. Here you teach us to see each patient as unique. The observation lounge's displays showed their current mission, a joint response to a colony world's pandemic. Ships from 12 species worked together, coordinating under Earth's medical protocols. Each vessel bore the new Universal Medical Service insignia, a combination of every species' healing symbol. Admiral Torres sends her regards, a familiar voice said. Sarah turned to see Maya Rodriguez, the former sensor operator who'd survived the original Mercy with her. Now she served as liaison between medical ships and their Ghost Fleet escorts. The Admiral's new security measures are working perfectly, Maya continued. 3 pirate groups took one look at our escort and changed course immediately. Apparently, our reputation precedes us. Sarah nodded, remembering the changes the past 5 years had brought. The Ghost Fleet had returned to its hidden bases, but everyone knew they were watching. Each medical ship now carried a quantum beacon. A single signal would bring humanity's guardians running. Update from Earth Central. Maya added, checking her comm. The Medical Technology Exchange Program has approved another 50 students from former hegemony worlds. They're particularly interested in your new radiation treatment protocols. The lounge's door slid open again, admitting Chancellor Dextal himself. The hegemony leader had become a regular visitor to Earth's medical facilities, personally overseeing the implementation of the Medical Protection Accords. Dr. Chen, he greeted her formally. The results of your teaching methods continue to impress. Our latest graduation class has already improved survival rates by 30%. Sarah gestured to the observation windows, where a massive space station was taking shape. The new Geneva Medical Center will help even more. Joint research teams, shared knowledge, open publication of results. Everything we wanted to do before. Before we made the greatest mistake in our history, Dextal acknowledged quietly. "Tell me, Doctor, did your people ever consider using your medical knowledge as a weapon? It would have been efficient." "We considered everything," Sarah replied honestly. "But weapons destroy. Medicine heals. We chose our path long ago." The station's incomplete structure reminded her of the memorial at its heart, a recreation of the original Mercy's medical bay, preserved as a reminder. But now it stood alongside exhibits showing the achievements that had followed. Cures developed through cooperation, treatments enhanced by shared knowledge, lives saved by combined expertise. "Message from the Nightshade," Maya announced suddenly. "They've detected unusual energy signatures near the Carina Nebula. Admiral Torres is investigating personally." Sarah watched the student and Chancellor react, not with fear, but with relief. The Ghost Fleet's presence had become a comfort to medical ships across the galaxy. They were the guardians who chose not to strike, the power that existed to prevent violence. "Schedule update," her medical eye chimed. "Next stop is the Arcturus system. Estimated arrival in 6 hours." Sarah looked at her small group, the student learning human medical ethics, the former sensor operator protecting a new generation of hospital ships, the Chancellor who had learned the true meaning of strength. Each represented a piece of the new foundation they had built. "Time for rounds," she announced. "Kexley, you'll be leading the next examination. Remember what we discussed about patient communication." As they walked through the Mercy Eyes corridors, Sarah passed the ship's motto, now displayed in every known language. "We heal all. We help all. And we are no longer alone." The hospital ship continued its mission, carrying the promise of healing to the stars. Behind it, invisible but ever-present, the Guardians watched, not as conquerors or warriors, but as protectors of a legacy built on the simple idea that saving lives was the greatest strength of all.